Today, I will be presenting my findings on the book Larceny in the Heart: The Economics of Satan and the Inflationary State by Rousas John Rushdoony. And I will be presenting what I liked from the book, what I didn't like from the book, and the biggest lesson that I believe all readers should take from reading the book. So I will begin with an introduction of the book. And from reading the book, I feel like one of the main ideas that Rushdoony was trying to get at is that the state or the government has moved far away from moral economics. And it now holds to the economics of Satan, which is not a good thing, especially in today's world where sin is such a prevalent action of everyone today. The government has a lot of power over its citizens' lives, and it should want to promote the well-being of citizens, but instead, the government steals and cheats from citizens, and their money becomes worth less than what it would be had the state just left them alone. And I think that through his book, Rushdoony does a good job of explaining through examples in the Bible about how the state is truly just a pawn of Satan. From reading the book, he mentions the Bible almost every chapter, and it's a very, very biblically based book. And I enjoyed that because, especially in the world of economics, it helps to have a sense of morality so that you don't end up becoming greedy. And through the book, he wants to promote his readers to move back towards moral economics, which morality and economics go together, and it just makes everyone better off when there's no stealing from the government. So one of the first things I liked actually came in chapter 1, which is titled The War on Inflation. And I guess I never thought about inflation the way Rushdoony talked about it. He wants us to know that the state hates inflation, but yet the state creates inflation. So it's a hard concept to understand, and it just shows what our government does. The government's goal is power, so they create inflation while maintaining power because power comes with money, and they want money and they want power. Uh, some of my own views, I agree with Rushdoony here because while I believe the government is important and very it plays a good role in today's lives of citizens, it should also not have as much power and it should not steal from its citizens. And it's kind of contradicting here because the government punishes those who steal from it. So why should it not be punished for the crimes that it commits? That seems hypocritical to me. And I also think Rushdoony did a good job of explaining to his readers his stance on the subject. He knows how to speak to the audience and portray it in a way that they'll understand it. He's a credible source. He is very clearly a smart man. And I think, yeah, he can just put it into context so that his readers will understand it, even though it's not the easiest thing to understand. Another thing I liked from the book came in chapter 6, titled Morality and Economics. This chapter really got at the root of the problems the economy is facing today. Morality and sin have been ruling over the economy, and we have separated morality and economics from the example in the book, from the chapter. The problem with the economy was just that we had separated morality from it. And humans are too sinful to make any decision that may lead to a better economy and put wealth back in the pockets of its citizens. If you want good economics to be at the center of your beliefs, then you must use moral judgment for economic transactions, because moral economics are just and fair. And I also liked this chapter because a possible future career that for me could be working with third world countries and trying to help them move or better their economy and better the lives of their citizens and move out of the third world. And if I am to help countries, I need to have moral economics and not just rely on the numbers. Numbers can be very deceiving, and just helping people is something that you should do morally and economically. And I think economists should think at the margin and look at the effects of each option, because the choices made today affect the possibilities of tomorrow and of the state we create for the next generation. I think the biggest lesson from the book comes in chapter 14, The Curse of Bad Religion. I think this is the biggest lesson because it's not necessarily an economic lesson, but actually a life lesson. In the chapter, it says that the government tries to prevent people from sinning, and by doing this, it takes away freedom and choice from the people. But this is because of their bad religion. And I think all Christians need to hear this truth because it could save your faith. Bad religion is not a good thing to have ruling over your heart. Throughout this current situation with coronavirus and quarantine and not being at college, presenting to you today, my faith is being tested, and just sitting at home, I really don't like that, but I know that with God that I can get through it. And even though we do not know what the future holds, we know who holds the future, and if He is at the center of our hearts, then we must have faith that He will take care of us. Now I will move on to what I did not like from the book. While reading the book, I felt like Rushdoony was kind of talking in a depressing and taking a fallen approach to the current state of economics. I guess I don't really like depressing things, and that's just the vibe I got from the book. Everybody sins, and I think we are quick to blame politicians because they are in the spotlight, and everyone judges them by how they perform. They have 4 years to do what they believe is right for our nation. And I think that if at least I was in the same position as them, I'm sorry to say, but I would probably do the same. And I think most people would, because we're not all used to that type of pressure, and we're all sinful, but our sins are just not in the spotlight for everyone to see. So I think if Rushdoony could have talked about economics in a less depressing and less fallen way, I would have maybe liked reading that book a little more. And to continue on that, I feel like the book was a little depressing to read. A lot of the topics within the book were stealing and sinning of the state. But if you actually look before the coronavirus, uh, you would see a flourishing stock market, low unemployment, high GDP. And from what I have learned in my economics and business courses at Dort, those are all things that make up a good economy. So I feel like the book Larceny in the Heart was an economics book, not focused on um, what normal people would associate with economics. And because GDP, unemployment, and stock market are all things about are all economic activities. But the book did want readers to look at the underlying problems. So, do you believe the numbers that the government tells you, the government that sins? Or do you believe the numbers do not justify how the government achieves those numbers, which is through inflation and theft? And I guess that is a question that everyone will have to answer on their own. In conclusion, I learned a lot from the book. I agreed with a lot of things in the book, and I don't know if I disagreed with anything, but I wish he would have gone about the book in a different way. Economics is a gift from God that can be used to help our neighbor, and they should not be ruled by sin, nor should any part of our life be ruled by sin. And I think Rushdoony recognizes the importance of moral economics, putting the two together and bettering. They're better together than they are separated. Help the poor, help the future, help the world. And if we are to do that, we have a lot to do to get there. Um, and it starts with putting morality and economics back together and creating a better state for tomorrow. Thank you.